The sky was red, like fire spilling across a dark sea. 2 moons hung low above the frozen cliffs of Muriel, casting a dull silver glow on the land. Everything was quiet. Too quiet. Ayla moved through the ice fields, her breath fast and sharp, her boots crunching softly against the snow. She wore a dark hood that hid her face every few steps. She looked back. No one was behind her. Not yet. She had waited too long, 2.5 centuries. Now they were coming. She reached the cliff wall and placed her palm on a flat black stone. It lit up with a faint blue shimmer. The stone slid open. A hidden entrance appeared. The cave was still there, still waiting inside. The air was cold and dry. Ayla's heart pounded. She followed the narrow path deeper into the rock. Her fingers brushed against the walls, remembering every curve, every step. This place was carved in memory. At the end of the tunnel, the chamber opened wide. There he was, Kale, the last human warrior. He lay inside a crystal-like stasis pod, silent and still. His body had not changed. His face looked exactly as it did 250 years ago. Strong jaw scar under the right eye, broad shoulders under the armor he wore that final day. Ayla stepped forward slowly. Her hands shook. Her eyes were glassy with tears. She didn't notice for a moment. She just stood there, looking at him. She had thought about this moment so many times, in dreams, in regrets, in silence. She whispered his name. Kaylee didn't move. Her mind went back to the day she put him here. The war was ending. Her people had won. Earth had fallen. But Kale had saved her life when he didn't have to. He could have left her, could have taken revenge. But he didn't. Instead, he carried her to safety, bleeding, barely breathing. Enemy or not, he protected her. And when the order came to wipe out the last human survivors, she made a choice. She stole a ship, brought him here, placed him in stasis, and waited. But waiting came at a price. Her people branded her a traitor. She went into hiding for years, then decades, then centuries. But now the silence was over. They found his signal. They knew he was here. Ayla stepped closer and touched the panel beside the pod. The stasis field shimmered. A faint hum filled the air. Her breath caught in her throat. She whispered again, "Wake up, Kale. They found us." The chamber began to glow. Steam hissed from the sides. The ice on the pod cracked and melted. Kale's fingers twitched. Ayla gasped. She stepped back, her hands over her mouth. His chest rose once, then again. His eyes shot open, blue, sharp, alive. Kale sat up fast and looked around. Confused and alert, he reached for his side, where a weapon should have been. There was none. He saw her, Ayla, standing there. With tears in her eyes, he stared at her face for a long second. Then his voice came out, rough and dry. "Where am I?" She swallowed hard. "You're safe for now. But we have to move. They're coming." Kale tried to stand. His legs were weak, but his spirit was not. He grabbed the edge of the pod and pulled himself up. He looked around. The cave was strange, cold, alien, but somehow familiar. He turned to her again. His voice was softer this time. "How long?" Ayla hesitated. She looked away for a moment, then met his eyes. 250 years. Kale blinked slowly. He didn't speak. He didn't have to. The silence set in. Ayla stepped closer. Her voice trembled. "I had to hide you. I couldn't let them erase you. Not after what you did. Not after what you were." Kale looked down at his hands. They still looked the same, but inside, everything had changed. He looked back at her, his voice a whisper. "Why are you crying?" Before she could answer, a sharp sound echoed from the cave entrance. A boot on stone. Then another. Ayla's head turned fast. She grabbed Kale's arm and pulled him toward the back of the chamber. "We don't have time." Kale moved with her, still unsure, still dazed, but his warrior instincts were waking fast. More footsteps, shadows on the wall. Ayla pressed her hand on another panel. A hidden path opened in the rock. She pulled Kale inside. The entrance closed behind them. Darkness swallowed the chamber again, but the sound of pursuit grew louder. They had found them. The tunnel was narrow and dark. Only the sound of their footsteps echoed through the cold stone. Ayla moved quickly, guiding Kale through the hidden passage. She knew every turn, every corner. She had built this path herself. Kale followed, his body still weak, but his senses sharpening with every step. His mind spun with questions. His chest felt heavy. He kept looking at her long silver hair, at the way she moved, careful, focused. Ephraila stopped near a low wall of glowing blue stone. She knelt and opened a metal crate. Inside was a cloak, a med pack, and a slim plasma blade. Put this on. She handed him the cloak. It will hide your heat signature. At least for a while. Kale pulled the cloak over his armor. It felt strange, lighter than any tech he remembered. He sat down on a flat stone and looked at his hands again. They still looked human, but everything else felt like a dream. What year is it? He asked. His voice quieter. Nawela turned toward him. Her face was soft in the blue glow. It's year 487. Post-collapse calendar. Your Earth calendar doesn't exist anymore. Kale stared at her. His chest rose and fell slowly. So it's true Earth. Isgonela looked away. Not gone, just lost, buried, forgotten. He rubbed his forehead, trying to remember the last day of the war. The skies burning, the ships falling, the screams. Then nothing. He pointed to her. You saved me. But Waila didn't speak right away. She closed the crate and sat across from him. Because you saved me first. You could have killed me back then, but you didn't. You carried me through fire. You gave me water, and you said no war is worth killing someone already. Broken. Kale leaned back against the wall. I don't remember saying that, but it sounds like something I would have said. Ayla smiled faintly. You said it like it was a curse. Like you were tired of being a weapon. Kale stared at the cave ceiling. His voice was lower, now almost a whisper. I was tired. We all were. Earth lost too many. They made us into monsters to survive. I didn't want to be a monster anymore. A long silence passed between them. Then a soft alarm on Ayla's wrist buzzed. She checked the display and frowned. They deployed seekers. We have less than 20 minutes before they scan this whole cliff. Kale stood slowly. His legs steadier now. He looked stronger, more alert, more like a soldier. Where do we go? Ayla tapped on the stone wall. It slid open to reveal a steep staircase made of metal and bone. This leads to the surface, but not the place you remember. Muriel changed in the last 2 centuries. The cities are buried. The people don't speak your name anymore. But some of us remember. Some of us still believe in what you were. Kale narrowed his eyes. What was he? Ayla met his gaze. A symbol, a rebel, a human who fought not to win, but to protect. That made you dangerous. More dangerous than any weapon. They started climbing the stairs, one level, then another. The light changed from blue to silver, then to a pale gold when they reached the surface. The world opened up in front of them. Kale stepped out and froze. The sky was wide, the stars unfamiliar, the landscape twisted. Tall crystal trees grew where no forest had stood. Floating stones drifted through the air like birds. Mountains glowed with strange veins of red and green. What is this place? He asked. Softly. Ayla stepped beside him. This used to be a battlefield. Now it's something else. Time did what war couldn't. It changed everything. They walked through the ruins of what looked like an old outpost, half buried in snow-shattered walls, broken towers. Kale picked up a fragment of metal. It had the insignia of Earth's last fleet. I fought here, he whispered. I remember this place. Ayla nodded. You held the line while civilians escaped. You were supposed to die, but you didn't. Kale dropped the metal shard. His eyes scanned the horizon. Where are the others, the rest of the human survivors? Are there any left? Ayla didn't answer right away. Then she said, some say a few escaped into deep space. Some say they became something else, but most are gone. Kale clenched his jaw. So why bring me back now? Ayla looked at the sky. Because the silence is ending. Your name was whispered in the black channels. Something woke the old ones, and they're searching for you. If they find you, they will tear this world apart again. Kale looked at her, then stepped closer. Why are you really doing this? After all this time, you could have let me sleep forever. Ayla's voice trembled. Because I couldn't forget you. Because I dreamed of you. Even when I hated myself for it. Kale watched her face. The sadness, the fire. He reached for her hand. She didn't pull away before he could speak. A sharp sound tore through the sky. A black ship passed overhead, silent, fast, deadly. Allah pulled Kale into the shadows. They found us, she whispered. Kale turned toward the forest below. His eyes cold, now focused. Then let's make them regret it. Asterisk, the wind cut through the air like ice, sharp and fast. The trees stood tall around them, wide and glowing with veins of blue crystal. They didn't sway, they didn't move. They were dead. Kale ran beside Ayla, his breath steady, his mind racing. Black ship above them had turned. It was coming back. They ducked under a rock arch. Ayla pulled out a small scanner from her belt. Her hand moved quickly across the surface. She whispered, 2 drones behind us, small, fast-armed. Kale didn't stop moving. Can we outrun them? Not for long, but maybe we don't need to. Looked at her. Explain. Ayla glanced at the cliff edge ahead. If we can reach the hollow ridge, we can cut through the underground tunnels. There's a place there, old resistance hideout. Abandoned long ago. If the systems still work, we can disappear. Kale nodded once. Then we run faster behind them. The sound of the drones grew louder, a high-pitched whine getting closer. Scanning, tracking. Kale pushed harder. His body remembered how to move, how to react even after 250 years. The warrior inside him wasn't dead. They reached the edge of the cliff below. A wide drop led to a frozen lake covered in mist to the left. The path curved toward a narrow trail hidden between jagged rocks. This way, Ayla said. Turning fast, Kale followed her down the trail. It twisted like a serpent, sharp and narrow. He slipped once, caught himself, kept moving. Suddenly, a flash of red light passed overhead. Then another. The drones had locked on. Kale turned, lifted his arm. Nothing there. He cursed it under his breath. No weapon, no shield. Ayla stopped beside a flat stone. She slammed her hand on it. The surface split open. Inside was a small case. She tossed it to Kale. Use this. It's old tech, but deadly. Kale opened it. A pulse pistol, heavy, reliable. He gripped it tight, took aim at the trees behind. Then one drone appeared, sleek, fast, glowing red. Kale waited for one breath, then fired. The shot hit the drone straight in the center. It sparked, dropped, crashed into the ice below. One down. He muttered. The second drone swerved through the air, firing back. Kale pulled Ayla behind a large stone. The blast scorched the edge, missed them by inches. He leaned out, fired again, missed. The drone moved faster. Too fast. Ayla raised her arm. A bright pulse lit from her wristband. The drone froze midair, spun, then crashed. EMP burst, she said. Short range, one-time use. Kale lowered the pistol, looked at her with a faint smile. Remind me never to get on your bad side. She smiled back, a little breathless, a little proud. Come on, we're close. They kept moving. The trees changed less crystal, more bone. Some still had blackened leaves stuck to brittle branches. This forest once had life. Now it was silent. Still. Kale noticed the signs. Blaster marks, burned trunks, scattered armor plates. This was a battlefield long ago, but not forgotten. They reached a wide rock wall. Ayla pressed her hand to it. Nothing happened. She frowned. Tried again. Still nothing. Kale stepped forward. Let me try. He placed his hand against the same spot. The wall lit up in a soft green wave. The door slid open. Ayla stared at him. It still recognizes your DNA, even after all this time. Kale looked down, confused, then walked inside. The tunnel was dark, but lights came on as they moved, one by one, old lights flickering, but still alive. The corridor opened into a large chamber. Dust floated in the air, broken chairs, cracked screens. A long table with a faded map of Earth's last colonies. Kale touched the map. His fingers moved slowly across the names. New Terra, Kepler Base Outpost 9th Air Gone. Ayla said quietly. One by one, they were hunted. Some vanished, some turned to ash. Kale nodded, but said nothing. He looked around. This place, I remember this. We met here once before the final mission. Ayla stepped beside him. You asked me why my people hated humans, and I said, because humans refused to kneel. Kale smiled slightly. That sounds like me. They sat down on the edge of the old table. For a moment, silence filled the room. Kale looked at her again. What happened to the woman I loved? The one I swore I'd come back? Ayla lowered her eyes. She waited, then said, she died with your world, and I buried her memory with yours. Kale's hands clenched, not from anger, but from pain. I should have died too. No, Ayla said firmly. You're still here for a reason. The war is not Over it just changed shape. Kale walked to a broken window, looking out over the frozen forest. What now? Do we keep running? Gala joined him. No, we send the signal. We call the others. Kale turned to her other. Sayla nodded. There are still voices out there, whispers of survivors, aliens who regret the war, humans and hiding machines that remember you. He stepped closer to her. And you? Do you still regret saving? Mesh met his eyes. No, never. Before either could speak again, a sharp vibration shook the chamber. Rayla checked her scanner. Ship incoming. Big one. They found the entrance. Kale looked around, saw an old terminal flickering in the corner. He walked over, placed his hand on the surface. The screen came alive. A message blinked, old encrypted but clear to Kale. If you're reading this, the failsafe worked, and the world still needs you. Stared at the screen, his jaw tight, his heart full. He turned to Ayla. It's not over. Not yet. The message on the screen blinked slowly, like a heartbeat from the past. Kale stared at the words. Frozen. Ayla stood beside him, her eyes locked on the flickering glow. To Kale, if you're reading this, the failsafe worked, and the world still needs you. Kale pressed his hand flat against the console. The message began to unfold. It was a recording, old, damaged, but still alive. A hologram formed in front of them, flickering at first, then stabilizing. A woman stood in the light, dark skin, short hair, sharp eyes that looked tired but strong. Kale inhaled sharply. Ayla felt his hand tighten. Who is she? She asked. Kale's voice came out low. That's Commander Reyna. She was the leader of Earth's last free division, and my wife. The hologram began to speak. Kale, if you're seeing this, then Ayla kept her promise. And you survived. I know what you're thinking. Why her? Why trust the enemy? But you already know the answer. You saw something in her, something human. Even when she was a Ayla lowered her gaze. Her breath unsteady. Reyna continued. Earth fell, but not all of us. We scattered, we hid. We waited. The eye vaults still hold blueprints, weapons, memories, but they are locked to your DNA. That's why you matter. The camera in the message shook as an explosion echoed in the background. Dust filled the frame. Reyna looked back toward the sound, then returned to the lens. They're coming for me. This is my last transmission. I don't know if we'll make it, but Kale, if you wake up, then don't run. Fight. The screen went dark. Silence fell across the chamber, heavy, cold, full of ghosts. Kale didn't move. He just stared at the place where her face had been. Frozen in time, frozen in sacrifice. Ayla stepped forward. I didn't know she left this. I didn't even know she believed in me. Kale spoke slowly. She didn't. Not at first, but she believed in Earth, in the people we could be, not the weapons we became. Walked over to a shattered bench, sat down. His hands rested on his knees. I failed her. I failed all of them. Ayla came closer. She knelt in front of him, her voice soft but sharp. No, you did what no one else could. You lived. You carried our last hope inside you, and now that hope has a face again. Kale looked into her eyes. Why did you really hide me? Tell me the truth this time. Ayla didn't flinch. Because when I saw you on that battlefield, bleeding, broken, trying to save even your enemies, I didn't see a soldier. I saw a man who deserved more than death. Kale's throat tightened, his voice cracked. I don't even know who I am anymore. She leaned closer. Then let's find out together. Before he could answer, a sharp crack echoed through the tunnel above them, followed by a second, then a deep, low hum. Kale stood fast. That's not a ship. That's a mining walker. They're digging through the rock. Ayla checked her scanner, heat signatures increasing 10 life forms. Armed. Kale moved toward the back wall. There should be another exit from here. He tapped the console beside the damaged screen. A small door hissed open in the far corner. This leads to the old com tower. Reyna used to broadcast signals from there. If it's still functional, we can call out to who? Ayla asked. There's no one left to answer. Kale looked over his shoulder. Yes, there is. Reyna said the vaults need my DNA. That means they still exist. Ayla followed him into the narrow tunnel. She lit a soft green light from her wristband. The air was filled with dust. The walls were carved from dark rock. Kale kept his voice low. There were 5 AI vaults hidden across the star systems, each one protected by human encryption. You think they're still online? Ayla asked. Kale nodded. They were built to outlast us all. Each vault holds one thing, a memory core of everything Earth used to be: culture, science, dreams, and weapons. Ayla added quietly. Kale stopped, looked at her. Weapons that can end this war before it begins again. They reached the end of the tunnel. A circular chamber opened around them. Broken screens, collapsed towers. An old satellite dish pointed toward the sky. Kale walked up to the main console, placed his hand flat on the surface. Sharp beep echoed. Then light filled the room. "The system is still alive," he said. Ayla looked around. "Everything's so old. How can this still work?" "Because humans knew how to survive," Kale replied. "Even when we lost everything, we built our stories into the stone." A message began uploading to the beacon, short-coded, a pulse of data that would echo across old frequencies. "If there's anyone out there," Kale said, "they'll hear it." Suddenly, a burst of static cracked through the speakers. A voice answered, faint, distorted, but real. "Kale, is that you?" Kale leaned in close. "This is Kale. Who is this?" The voice came back. "We heard the beacon. You're not Alan." Ayla stared at the speaker, her eyes wide, her voice trembling. "That voice, it's not human." Kale smiled faintly. "That doesn't matter because they just became our ally." A sudden explosion shook the mountain. The tunnel behind them collapsed. They turned, weapons ready, hearts racing. Kale looked at Ayla. "Time to wake the past." She nodded, with fire in her eyes. "Let's finish what you started." The mountain trembled behind them. Dust spilled from the ceiling as Kale and Ayla stood inside the old tower. The transmission was sent. Someone out there had heard them, but they had no time to celebrate. The sound of boots striking metal echoed through the broken tunnel. Ayla drew her weapon. Kale raised the old pulse pistol he'd claimed earlier. They pressed their backs to the wall. Ayla's voice was calm but cold. "They're moving fast, too organized for mercenaries. This is military." Kale stared ahead, his grip tightened. "Yours or mine?" Ayla didn't answer. The door burst open. A figure stepped through the smoke, tall, covered in armor with sharp red lines pulsing across the chest plate. The helmet was shaped like a hawk's head. The eyes glowed with violet light. Kale aimed. Ayla froze and she whispered. The armored figure stepped forward, removed the helmet. Ayla stepped back as if hit by lightning. The woman behind the mask had Ayla's eyes, her face, her posture, but colder, harder, sharper. "Sister," Ayla said under her breath. Kale didn't lower his weapon. "You didn't say you had family hunting, you see." Didn't know she was still alive. The woman looked at Kale with quiet disgust. "So this is the famous human you betrayed us for?" Kale didn't flinch. "And you must be the sister who sold her soul for a uniform." The woman tilted her head. "You talk too much for a really." Kayla stepped between them. "Zariah, please, you don't have to do this." Zariah walked closer. Her soldiers flanked the room, weapons aimed, eyes blank behind their helmets. "I already did," she said, "when you ran from your oath. When you chose him over your own blood." Ayla's voice shook. "I chose peace. I chose to believe we weren't meant to be killers." "For of Zaria laughed. There was no warmth in the sound. "That's what the humans made you believe with their soft voices and broken promises. They would have wiped us out if we hadn't struck first." Kale spoke again. "And what did you become to win another empire built on Zaria?" Turned to him. "I don't fear you, human. You're a ghost, a memory that should have faded with the ashes of your planet." Ayla stepped forward. "Leave him alone if you want revenge. Take it out on me." Zariah shook her head. "No, you don't understand. We don't want him dead. We want him away." Kale narrowed his eyes. "What do you mean?" Zariah raised her hand. A hologram appeared in the air between them, a diagram of Kale's DNA symbols, locks, a central code glowing red. "You are the last human key. Your body holds the access code to the Leviathan core. It was Earth's final project, a weapon hidden in deep space. We need it. We can use it." Kale took a step back. "I never heard of this core." Zaria smiled. "That's because it was locked before you were even born. Your DNA evolved in combat, adapted. Through battle, your body became the code." Kale's heart pounded. He turned to Ayla. "Did you?" She looked away, silent. Kale's voice dropped. "You knew I wasn't sure," she said, "but I suspected, and I didn't tell you because I wanted you to choose this Not feel forced. Kale stepped back. So all of this, saving me, waking me, was it for me or for the weapon? Ayla reached for him. It was always for you. But now we don't have time to argue. Zarya raised her hand again. We don't need his permission. We can. Take him now. Kale raised the pistol. You'll try before anyone could move. The ground shook again. A blast ripped through the side wall. A cloud of smoke poured into the room. Voices echoed from the sky above. Kale, this is Echo Unit. We heard your signal. Hold position. Zarya's face turned to rage. She gave a signal. Her troops opened fire. Kale dove behind the console. Ayla moved like lightning, her blade lit with blue plasma. She cut down the nearest soldier without hesitation. Kale fired back his shots. Clean presses as Zarya vanished in the smoke. The battle inside the tower turned chaotic. Sparks flew, dust filled the air. Screams mixed with static. Kale reached for Ayla. We have to get out. She nodded, blood on her face. Not hers. They ran toward the broken wall. A rope dropped from above. A sleek shuttle hovered just outside. Kale grabbed Ayla's hand. They jumped together, climbed fast. The hatch closed behind them as more fire rained down below. Inside the shuttle, two beings waited. One was human, gray hair, cybernetic eye. The other was alien, tall, covered in golden scales. The human spoke first. Welcome back, Kale. We've been waiting a long time. Kale looked at them, then at Ayla. What now? The alien answered. Now we show the galaxy what it means to be human. The shuttle broke through the clouds of Miriel. Kale stood near the viewing port, eyes fixed on the shrinking planet below. His reflection stared back at him, worn, scarred, alive behind him. Ayla leaned against the wall, silent, watching. The cybernetic man stepped forward. Gray hair pulled back. His left eye glowed dim blue. Commander Race, former Earth Tactical Command Echo Unit, is all that's left of what we were. You have no idea how long we've waited for you. Kale turned slowly. If you waited so long, why now? Why help me now? Rice answered with no hesitation. Because the Leviathan core is waking, and only you can unlock it. Kale glanced at Ayla, then back at Rice. I didn't ask to be your key or your weapon. The alien beside Rice stepped forward. Her skin shimmered like polished gold, eyes deep like oceans. I am Nira, speaker of the Oran people. We lost much in the wars too, but we believe peace is still possible. With your help. Kale crossed his arms. Everyone keeps saying I'm important, but no one explains why my DNA matters. Rice activated a holomap. A massive ring structure spun slowly in space, black, ancient, surrounded by dead satellites. This is the Leviathan core. It was Earth's last effort before the collapse. They knew defeat was coming, so they stored everything inside it: weapons, knowledge, culture, memory. Nira added softly, and a final weapon of judgment. Something even we don't fully understand. But your command access remains active. Kale stared at the image, felt something stir deep in his chest. Something familiar, old. So, what happens if I go in there? What if I unlock it? Rice stepped closer. Then we win. Ayla spoke for the first time since takeoff. Or we start another war bigger than anything before. Kale turned to her, his voice steady. That's why I need to go in first. Alone. She shook her head. I didn't bring you back to watch you die again. Kale stepped closer, put a hand gently on her arm. I'm not dying. I'm remembering. Ayla searched his face, her voice cracked. Just promise me, if it changes you, you'll come back the same. Kale gave a small smile. I've already changed. Because of you. Rice pointed at the map. We dock in 30 minutes. Prepare yourself. Kale nodded, then turned and walked to the far end of the shuttle. A small chamber waited for him there, dark, quiet. He sat down, closed his eyes. Memories flooded back. The battlefield, the screaming rain, his face in the fire, the silence of the cave, and Ayla ways. Ayla. Shuttle docked with a soft thud. The doors opened into a cold, metallic hallway. The walls pulsed faintly with blue light, sensors activated as Kale stepped inside. Welcome. Commander. Authorization accepted. Kale kept walking. The deeper he went, the warmer the air became, like the heart of something still alive. He reached the central core, a massive chamber filled with vertical light pillars, floating panels, memory orbs that flickered with whispers of Earth's past. He touched one orb. A scene appeared. A school in spring, children laughing, a woman holding a Maybe his throat tightened. He touched another, a soldier's funeral, a folded flag. Tears on cheeks. Then another, a couple dancing on a rooftop, music in the wind. Stars above. Kale stepped to the control ring. A beam of light scanned him from head to toe. Command. Identity confirmed. Kale Varen, captain of Earth Resistance Unit 9. Last recognized authority of Human Core Access. Please speak your directive. Kale closed his eyes, then spoke. Show me what they left behind. Chamber shifted. Massive screens lit up. Thousands of files opened. Blueprints for machines. Star maps. Messages from lost leaders. At the center, a single pod rose from the floor. Black, sleek, silent. The final weapon. Kale approached the pod, reacted to his presence. Opened slowly inside a war suit. Unlike anything he'd ever seen alive, breathing with light. It formed around him, bonded to his skin. Power surged through his veins. A voice echoed in his mind. Welcome back. Human flame. Kale stood still, unshaken, focused. Then he spoke aloud. I'm not here to conquer. I'm here to protect. The pod closed behind him. The chamber sealed outside. Rice and Nero watched the reading spike. He did it. Rice said the core is online. Anira turned to Ayla. He carries more than power now. He carries choice. Ayla pressed her hand to the glass, her voice low. Please come back to me. Inside the core, Kale stepped out of the ring. Wings of energy formed behind him. His eyes glowed with white, fiery. Raised his hand, sent a signal across the stars, a message of hope, of return, of warning. We are not gone. We are not broken. We are human, and we have awakened. The stars pulsed across the void like ancient memories. Signals lit up. Dead frequencies, outposts long abandoned, stirred with static on a forgotten moon. A listening tower came alive deep inside a mine carved into asteroid rock. A hidden AI reconnected to the network. Kale's message had reached them all. We are not gone. We are not broken. We are human, and we have awakened. In the shuttle's command center, Ayla stood silent, her eyes fixed on the glowing stream of data, now spreading across the galaxy. Rice stared at the map, astonished. Every dot lighting up was a silent voice, now calling back old Earth ships, underground resistance cells, alien defectors, even hybrid factions once hunted by both sides. They were listening. Nura turned to Ayla, her voice filled with awe. He did it. He called the forgotten home. Ayla's hands were tight around the edge of the console. Her heart raced, but her mind was still inside the core, still with him. Rice moved to a communication panel. We're getting pings from 3-star systems. Some of them are activating fleet-level protocols. This isn't just a signal, it's a rally cry. Ayla whispered under her breath. It's Kale. They remember him inside the Leviathan core. Kale walked through the rising light. The war suit he now wore pulsed with power, but it was not just a machine. It was bonded with his thoughts, his memories, his feelings. He could hear them, the echoes of the past, every voice, every soul Earth had lost, carried into this final chamber. He reached the central terminal. A platform lifted him high into a dome where the starlight broke through. In front of him, one last protocol remained locked. Initiate planetary override. It required only one thing. A final choice: release the Leviathan's full weapon systems, or preserve what remained for future generations. He stood there for a moment, still breathing deeply. Then he spoke. I'm not here to destroy. I'm here to rebuild. Activate second protocol. Awaken memory cores. Cross the galaxy. Vaults opened. Ships powered on databases began restoring lost knowledge. Languages returned. Cures long forgotten came back online. This wasn't the beginning of war. This was the return of a people. Kale turned. The war suit melted back into the core. He stepped out, still himself, still human. The door slid open, and Ayla was waiting. She ran to him, threw her arms around his neck, held him tight. Her voice trembled. You came back. He held her close, rested his forehead against hers. Never left, not really. She pulled back just enough to see his eyes. What did you choose? Kale smiled. I chose life. Behind them, Rice and Nira stood in silence, watching something sacred. Kale walked forward, lifted a panel from the floor. Inside was a small silver box. He opened it. Slowly inside were 6 ancient rings, one for each member of Earth's last council. He held one in his hand, then slipped it on Rice. Step forward. That's the seal of Earth command. Kale nodded. And I intend to use it. The final chamber opened above. Them a launch pad extended from the core's heart. Ships once hidden for centuries lifted into the stars, silent, magnificent. Alive again. Kale stepped into one of them. Ayla followed her hand, never leaving his. She looked at him as the engines came. Online, what do we do now? He looked ahead at the stars. At the scattered lights now blinking back. Now we find them. The ones who never stopped believing. The ones who waited. Ayla took the co-pilot seat. Her voice soft but full of strength. And what if Zariah finds us again? Kale smiled a slow, proud smile. Then we remind her what it means to stand against humanity when it rises. He tapped the control screen. The ship responded like it had missed his touch. The fleet aligned around them. Dozens of ships, each one echoing the old designs of Earth. Now upgraded, now united, they moved through the black, not as invaders, not as victims, but as voices of a world that refused to be erased. Kale's voice came across the open channel. Strong, clear to anyone listening. We are coming not for conquest, but for connection, not for war, but for memory. We carry the soul of Earth, and we're ready to stand again. Allah turned to him, her eyes filled with tears. You were the fire they tried to bury, and now you're the flame they can't silence. Kale looked at her, took her hand gently. I was just a man until you gave me something to come back for. Their ship sailed forward through the edge of light, toward the unknown. But not alone, because across the stars, the spark had returned. The human flame was burning again, and this time it would never fade.